Hello and welcome to Jam Presents. Normally, Jason and I bring you a weekly podcast about some obscure murder mystery show from the early 2000s. In this special episode, we catch up with Mel, our favourite investigator from the murder game. Yeah, I think
Surely.
so. I think so.
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
It's a good start, not a we.
Hey. I can't see me. Can you see me?
We can't see you, no. Is it start video in the bottom corner?
Hold on. I'm a virgin to this. Hold on a minute. Participants. Oh, start video. There we go.
There we go. Incredible.
What an entrance.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm a bit nervous. She's been taking the piss out of me. She's like, that remember us when you're famous again. Oh, so how are you guys doing?
Yeah, really well. Really well.
Good.
I'm the chap. So it says Jam Presents. I'm Mike, but I've been the one sort of texting you.
Yes. I've stalked you on Facebook. I know who you both are, what you all do.
It's it's great to have you on. We started about 3 or 4 months ago talking about Murder in Small Town X,
Yeah.
and Jason said, look, let's just podcast it. We've been chatting, we've been friends for like 15 years. And we said, look, we need to do something with our lives. Lockdown's been crap for everyone, hasn't it? So
Yeah.
as soon as we watched Murder in Small Town X, people on Twitter were like, oh, you've got to do the murder game next. That's the one that you've got to,
Really?
natural progression. And that.
Were people interested in it?
Really interested. It's amazing. Like, if you just put it into Twitter, there are so many people saying, oh, I can't remember what happened yesterday in my life, but I still remember what happened on the murder game from nearly 20 years ago.
It's madness, isn't it?
That is the one thing that it's so sad that I do say to people, that obviously if we had the whole social media thing when the murder game came out, it would have been huge, because people would have been able to sort of play along with the game and comment. And that's the one thing that when it aired, I think we debuted with like 14 million viewers. Ooh. And as every week went along, we lost millions at a time.
Mm-hmm.
People found it complicated
to
sort of keep up, and it was that whole thing of having to wait a week, and obviously you didn't have that whole social media where you could chat about it. And
exactly, yeah. I think we've mentioned that before. Yeah,
and that is the huge downfall that we had. But it was really heartbreaking when we sort of started with so many, and then as it went on, and I think we ended up with about 2 million viewers, which is quite a drop. So yeah.
So when we started watching it, and we need to let you know first of all, because we're going to be releasing, I think April 23rd is when we're going to release episode 1. We go quite hard on the show initially because we're like, what happened? Because Murder in Small Town X was one of those, we were gripped all the way through. There was this incredible cast, incredible story.
Yes.
And then the murder game came along, and Chief Bob, oh my God, we'll get on to Chief Bob.
You can ask me whatever you like. Yeah.
Oh my God, for us, it was like, what? Who is this bloke? What's going on? Again, compared to, maybe we're just soft as we've got a bit older, but when we watched Murder in Small Town X, it was like, it was all nice and everybody was kind, and it was, it was quite a wholesome program. It's scary in parts, but then we got onto the UK one. The narrator spoiled it as well, because every time like you're watching it, the narrator's going, oh, now they need to pick up another clue. And I'm thinking, no, we want to play along. You know what I mean?
There was a lot of comments on that, that it was a lot to do with sort of the producing and the editing. Let it down.
And we could see that, because actually the acting and the contestants and the relationships that you guys had was more interesting than having a voiceover at all, and
I mean, living the whole thing, it was so surreal, because when I say that when we were actually filming it, we were not allowed to talk to any cameramen, to any producers, nobody. Every now and then, I don't know if you've watched, it's been 20 years since I've watched it. I didn't watch it once. And the only time we would ever speak to anyone is, I don't know if you remember when the phone used to ring.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be one producer, I think his name was Andy, and he would be the one that said, right, so-and-so team, outside in 5 minutes, And that is all we would
That's
know.
the only direction that you get. Yeah.
We never knew where we were going, what was going to happen. And I mean, the whole thing that they did with it, I mean, the situations that we were put in was so real for us, because we, like I say, we didn't know what to expect. I think it was Merrill, and I don't know who else, that they chased the car and then it exploded in a field or something, if I can remember right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that was so real.
It
was just such an amazing production, but the editing was terrible. No offense to the editing.
No. I think we mentioned that as well when we were watching it, how it's sort of let down by the editing and the sort of the producing of it. Yeah, definitely.
But for us as contestants, it was surreal. It was amazing. It was scary. And like I said, I mean, there'd be times me and Rory, we'd be taking the piss out of the cameramen, and they just wouldn't be able to do anything about it. And it was such a good laugh.
That's why we enjoyed it so much, and that's why we sort of wanted you to win all the way through, because you weren't afraid to open your mouth or say something about the other contestants and stuff.
Yeah,
and honestly, I think it's only like in the second episode you say something along the lines of, "Oh, they're starting to put us into groups. I hope I never get put with fucking Richard Sharrocks," or something like that. It's like, yes.
Did it show that I just didn't like him at all?
That's exactly how we felt, though.
He was a twat. Sorry to say it. He really was. I mean, the thing is, though, I mean, obviously you'll ask me all the questions, but when we were doing the week's training, it all started to show that. And I felt a little bit like the underdog, because I was the youngest and everyone else there was the oldest. And you were sort of already there in the training trying to sort of grip onto someone to sort of, make an alliance and things like that. And I felt that you had to work really hard. That's why I clinged on to Sam, even though at first she wouldn't talk to me and things like that. But I used to follow her around like a puppy. And I was like clinging on to her. And that's why we became really good friends in it. But people even in the training with Richard, if you ran 10 miles, he's run 100 barefoot. That's how we all felt. And it was like, I think it was just that military thing. I don't know. But honestly, right from the start, I think a lot of us it rubbed us up the wrong way.
No, he rubbed us up the wrong way in episode 1, and we just hated him throughout after that. So it was always we'd come to, because the way the format works, we follow the show, we follow the tracks, and we say, okay, these are the things. Then we sort of pull apart different, if we see things like, oh, well, that's been spoiled for us, or we shouldn't have seen that, or whatever it was. But we would always comment at the end, like, who do you want to face the Killers game next week, or who do you want to win? And it was very much, right, we didn't have issues with, so we wanted you to win. We didn't have issues with Merrill or Nick, but then there was a few middle of the road. You've got Andrew, Rory, and people like that. But then down at the bottom, Richard every week, without a doubt. Mervyn.
Just get rid as quick as possible.
Oh, Mervyn
started off okay, but then what the hell? He just turned into some sort of ringleader and just nasty. Like, what?
Yeah, who's that?
Mervyn. He was horrible in the end, wasn't he?
I mean, the whole thing where obviously it shows on camera, which when I voted for Mervyn to play the Killers game, and I'm sorry, but for me it was a tactical vote. I did it because he'd voted Sam the previous week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and I think everybody was so angry because the reasons for him voting Sam were totally unfounded.
Yeah.
So obviously the week after, I did it purely for revenge to vote him off.
Rightly so.
Even if he'd been the best there.
It was literally, I did it for revenge, but at the same time, you can see the nerves on my face, because I knew that if he came back, I'd be the next one to go and do the Killers game, that he'd vote me off, because I would have all the guys against me and things like that. And I thought, I was just praying that he wouldn't come back. And my face when I saw that he'd got killed, I was like, get in.
we pick on honestly every sort of expression and stuff. We're like, oh, that's fantastic, And I'm fairly sure that in that episode where Sam's just left, you don't crack a smile, you're not interested, and then at the very end they say, oh, Mervyn and Andrew, you failed your task, and you're like with the biggest grin on your face.
I was honestly, I literally, I was gutted that he voted Sam, but then when everything started going wrong for them, I was like, ah. Yeah, it was. But so that's why I voted for him to do it the week after. But it was a risky move on my part.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought if he comes back, that's it. I'm a goner.
But I think that's what makes it better, though, with all the tactical voting and things like that. It took Richard until the second to last episode or something to realise, and he's even on camera. He's going, I think maybe if I'd have been a bit nicer to people and a bit more approachable, then I wouldn't have received a vote. Yeah, obviously, mate.
But who was it that voted Richard to do the Killers game?
I think that was that Andrew after.
Yeah, it was Andrew. Yeah.
Yeah, but wasn't it Rory that went up against Richard? Was it Rory? No, because Richard went out on his Killers game.
Yeah, so Rory voted for Andrew to be the next lead investigator, and then Andrew, not liking Richard, just went. He was even in his team, wasn't he?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, no, that people just they didn't like nobody liked Richard. Bless him. No.
Right, I'm gonna call you out on something now.
Go on.
So when we first meet you, and we do mention this as well, again, first episode, I heavily caveat it in that we do go a little bit hard on the show. And we raised our eyebrows when we first met you because you pull up in, I don't know, a sports car, is it a Porsche or something like that? You introduce yourself in Spanish. You say, I'm a retired exotic dancer and all this. And we were like, what is this show? What is going on? Like, we were really like stunned. But then, so you spoke in Spanish. The next scene that we see you, you'll lay on a bed with loads of like teddies. We've since found out that you collected Barbie, so that's fine.
Yes.
But I mentioned on our podcast that my daughter's 7, and I'm sure she's got fewer teddies that you've got. It's fantastic. But and I really want to be upfront and honest about this, because if you listen to our first 10 minutes, you'll be like, those assholes, what are they saying about me? I gave up my Thursday night for them, and they're just. But honestly, believe me, it gets better and better. But the next time we see you lay on the bed, you're talking very much with quite a strong London accent.
Yes.
And now you log on, you're like, all right, Duck, how are you?
I'm probably Yorkshire. Honestly, and if you put me 2 minutes with an Australian, I'm like, good day, mate. I don't know what it is with me and accents. So basically, I'm Spanish, originally from Spain, Mallorca.
You sound it.
Yeah, so yo soy española. Soy de la isla de Mallorca. So I'm Spanish. But my mum's from Hull. So my mum's proper northern. Yeah. I'm currently living in York. And I moved to London about a week before my 18th birthday with a lifelong ambition to become a stripper. So
lifelong.
I always wanted to be one, and after watching the film Showgirls, I thought that looks pretty awesome.
Jace was exactly the same after watching Showgirls, weren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I'm one of those people, I think if I don't do something, I just won't get anywhere in life. So I just decided a week before my 18th birthday, I moved to London with the sole intention of becoming an exotic dancer. And voila. And so I was doing it for about 5 years. And funnily enough, I stopped being a dancer. I know that I said on there that was a retired. I'd stopped working because I'd met a really rich man, hence the Porsche.
Hence the Porsche, yeah.
Hence the Porsche.
Fantastic.
And we were together for about 2 years, so but obviously that's ended. But yes. So was there a question with that?
No, it was just that you've gone from Spanish to Cockney to Yorkshire.
To Yorkshire. Yeah,
amazing.
I'm just very good at picking up accents. Yeah.
So when we do like a 10-year reunion night, then you've moved to Scotland. I was about to say I'll trick you into doing a Scottish accent.
There's been a murder. That's my Scottish.
In fact, Murder Island. We've spoke about Murder Island, and that's by STV. I'm sure that's a Scottish-based company, so you never know. You've got 3 days to get your application in.
Have you guys applied then?
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
What they ask you any questions about it then?
Yeah, generic sort of questions. We were going to ask you like sort of how you come about doing Murder Game, because we just got, obviously with our background or with what we're doing with the podcast, a few people messaged us and said you should apply for this, so we've gone, that's right up our street. It's basically what we're podcasting about, so let's do it. But then obviously, 2003, 4 or whatever it was, you must have seen an advert somewhere, or you must have.
No.
What happened?
I was actually walking through Guildford Shopping Centre, and there was literally, I was just doing, you know, my clothes shopping and things like that, and there was 2 women that looked like 2 women that were canvassing, you know, like sign up for Age UK or whatever, and there was a lot, they were trying to stop a lot of people, and they're all going, no, 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 sorry, I'm not interested. And then they came up to me, and I was sort of trying to avoid eye contact with them. And then I'm like, no, 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 please excuse me, we're from the BBC. Obviously, ting! I was like, okay. And they just started explaining that they're looking for contestants for a TV programme, and would I be interested? And so we started chatting, and I filled out an application form with them there and there, at literally Guildford Shopping Centre. And from there, it was grueling auditioning. So first of all, I had to go obviously to the BBC studios where they did like an interview with me. Then from there, it was another interview with a woman that used to present, is it Crime Stoppers UK or something? Or something like one of those that was on TV. Now, I didn't know who she was, and apparently you had to sort of interrogate her to find out what she's done. And I started asking her all these sex questions, not knowing that this is this famous TV presenter. I was completely oblivious. And anyway, then from there they said they were really good questions, you're through to the next round sort of thing. And so then the third audition was that you had to go into the BBC car park and examine a car, someone's car, and look for clues in the car. So there were little things like that. I mean, they did say to us that we weren't allowed to talk to anybody about it and things like that. So always keep it dead quiet. If they know that you're sort of, I mean, I don't know, it might be different, but they were saying, look, do not disclose any of the information, don't talk to anybody else, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, after all those auditions, then we had to, at a very posh hotel in London, I don't know if it was the Grosvenor or something like that, we had to go to see psychiatrists and things like that. So, and that was about 5 sessions, because some of the meetings were about hour-long meetings, and some were like, look, you're going to see really gruesome things. Can you handle that?
Chief Bob.
Chief Bob. And then there were the bits where they were saying, look, this might make you really, really famous. Are you going to be able to handle that bit? And the other one is, you might think this is going to make you famous, but nothing might come of this. Will you be able to handle that as well? And funnily enough, with me, they were umming and ahhing about me because they thought that I wasn't going to be able to deal with the fame.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, shut up. Like, no, and that was the audition process. And then they said, look, if we ring you, it means that you're in. And don't ask me how long it was, but it wasn't that long. And then I got the phone call saying, are you available to get a train to Leeds, where you'll be doing your week's police training?
That's incredible.
And so I packed my bag and off I went. And by this point, we'd never met each other, none of the contestants, nothing. So nobody really knew what was going on. I didn't even know I was going to a police training centre. They just said to me, look, someone's going to meet you at Leeds train station and take you where you need to go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then that's where we went into the training. Yeah, well, we were actually, I was ushered straight into a room where they said, look, this is going to be your room, unpack your stuff, which I did. I got my Barbies out and things like that. And it was about 3 hours later sitting in this room when they said, look, phone call, can you come downstairs? And it's where we all met each other in a room. Everyone was there with the sandwiches and chatting away. I was there in a corner. I was so shy. I was literally, I mean, I know that on camera I'm like dead talkative, but in front of a bunch of strangers. I was like just sat in a corner going, "Oh my god."
That's what got me the most when you texted and said, "Oh, I'm starting to get a bit nervous now," and I'm thinking, come on, you've been on BBC, like, you know, running your mouth about Richard Sharrott's and then applying for a boat show and stuff like that, and I'm thinking,
with me, if I'm getting the attention, I'm fine. It's when, you know, when at the beginning
it's that anticipation,
like,
right?
Yeah, when it's like there's 15 people in a room, it's like I hate that whole. I'm really quite shy to sort of approaching people and will they like me, and I talk a lot, as you can tell. I don't let anybody get away.
No, it's good.
I'm like, ooh.
We've got Richard joining us in a minute, so he can add something.
Let me have it. No, but do you know what? I'm sure he's a really nice guy.
Yeah, just not our cup of tea.
Yeah. No, but I tell you what, but people like Nick and Sam that we met up after the show.
Oh, nice.
Just absolutely lovely. I've lost touch with them all now. God, I wonder if Meryl and that. I doubt she'll still be alive.
So that's what
she didn't. She's not, is she?
Yeah, we found
did she pass away?
We found an obituary. I think. I mean, it was like Wootton under Edge, Gloucestershire, and the age is sort of there or thereabouts. So I think it's the same.
When was that, Mike? It's like 2009 or something.
I think that was only 4 or 5 years after the show had aired or something like that.
Really?
Yeah. But then we called that out as well because she was claimed to be 56. I think she was older than that.
Do you reckon? Bless her, good old Meryl.
But no, look, there was for the amount that we dissed the show like at the start, and as I say, it takes us up probably till episode 3 or 4, and we're like, actually, we're really getting into this because it was slow paced, and I think it's the British element, you know, that made it sort of a lot more slow paced, but. The way in which you gelled and the relationships and stuff like that, there's nothing better. And don't get me wrong, like reality TV now, I can't stand it because there is just so much. It's all that relationship stuff. It's all that, you know, you look at your Love Islands, your Big Brother and everything else like that. It's all, we just want to cause fights, arguments and all that sort of thing. Add in the murder mystery and the elements where everyone has to, I think it actually made it more tense because it wasn't just right, I've got to look cool in this next scene. It's, oh shit, we're here to actually do a job, you know?
We have to actually do something,
And we've got to actually be friends. We can't just fall out with people because there's so much that we've got to work out between us or, you know, come together and actually share information.
Yeah, does it come across though that we were actually really friendly? Because to me, being in the murder game, we weren't actually, you know, it's weird. I personally don't think we gelled as a group, as in a gossipy group or anything. The same as what you see.
Yeah.
We didn't really conversate about private life or anything like that.
I guess it's because we're seeing an hour episode of probably 100 or 1,000 hours or something of recordings that they took of you guys, because they track you for a full 48 hours, but people going to different places, you know, you've got hundreds of hours of tape and we're just getting a tiny segment of that. And I guess they're obviously showing the best bits or they're showing the tensions and stuff like that, but where it really became apparent where you were gelling was when those tensions started to crack and when certain people were voting tactically and stuff. And it was always the bedroom scenes, wasn't it, where you could definitely tell there was like a boy girl. There was it was disgusting at times, wasn't it? That,
you know, the divide was it was massive.
100%. Yeah, and the boys went to the back of the house, which what used to be the old stables of the house.
Okay.
And us girls were all together, and it was very much like that, wasn't it? Yeah, and it's certainly when, I mean, I remember, because was the last girl left out with 4 guys.
But for quite a while, I think, there were only one girl left for the last 3 episodes or something.
The girls were getting voted off at the beginning, one by one, and it did feel very tactical from the guys. The girls get voted off.
It felt almost like they'd formed the boys' club, and none of them wanted to vote another bloke because it would break that bro code or something like that. They were too afraid to vote for their mates, and so they would just vote another woman. I'll just get rid of Meryl this time, even though Meryl's been praised for being the best investigator and stuff like that. No, I don't mind it. Like I think it's fine if you're going to vote tactically, and I'm sure it's Rory.
It is Rory. Yeah, he comes out. Yeah,
he says, right, my vote is purely tactical. I don't care. I'm going to get rid of, and I'm sure he says Meryl because, or whoever it was, because she was a strong contestant. And I'm like, fair play, because you've actually said exactly what you're going to execute, and you've been honest, rather than just hide behind rubbish. You know, oh yeah, well they've not performed, so crap. Get on with it.
I'm so gonna have to rewatch all this.
watch along with our podcast, and you'll be able to think.
I will actually. Yeah, this is quite good fun actually. But no, yeah, Rory, he was, yeah, he wore it out on his sleeve. He really did sort of. But he did have a bond with Andrew, didn't he?
Yeah.
They're never
Definitely.
gonna vote each other off, were they?
There were a few moments with Andrew as well, and we're like, it's probably not all right nowadays. And back in the, it was a decade and a half ago, it was longer, but there were quite a few times where Andrew's like, I don't think any of you girls would have stomached that, or I don't think any of you girls would have been able to manage that. And it's like, come on, mate.
That,
you know, and it's like, it's weird to hear nowadays, because you think, you know what, it's actually, there's so much more normality about women doing men's jobs and stuff like that that you don't even think about it anymore. But seeing someone saying it on TV, you're like, oh my God, when's this dated?
Well, exactly. Well, that was my big thing with Richard on the first episode, when we get the brick thrown through the conservatory window. And I don't know if you saw it, but before that, when the actual murder of Catherine took place, we were all sat there in a little minivan. We were oblivious that this was our cue to go, because we thought we were
that's right,
the house. And we're all sat there like Muppets. And it was only when, after about 20 minutes, someone said, do you think you should get out? And we were like that, okay. And at that point, Richard was already saying, right, we're going to go in there, you guys do. It was sort of telling everybody what to do. And when the whole brick situation happened, and he started saying, right, to the three guys, you guys go outside and investigate, that's when I sort of stood up and I said, what? Why the guys? Why just the guys? Why can't the women go out? You know, and it was, and that was when I caught beef with Richard, and you could tell that, because he was just so like, no, you're doing this, you're doing that. The guys are stronger, so the guys should do this bit. And, you know, and that, I wouldn't say it annoyed me, but I just didn't like it. But
Within
it
the
was
first,
very much like that,
first few days of being there, you got someone's cards marked.
like,
It's
looking up the wrong way.
Another thing that sort of I wouldn't say it rude. Like, we had a ball watching it. It's been incredible. But the other thing that we thought was, it was just too tense. And I think your personality certainly came through, but a lot of people's personalities didn't come through, because there was a lot of fear in failing. And that's something the Murder in Small Town X doesn't have, is these tracks where Chief Bob at the end would analyze exactly what work you've done. And the amount of times, and you did it a few times to Nick, you were like, should we have not done this? And Nick's going, no, it's fine. And you're like, I think we should. But and we get, you were 20, 21 at the time, and Nick's there going, no, shut up, leave me, you know, and you could see that quite a lot, that the group weren't necessarily listening to you.
That's it.
You're a blonde woman in your early 20s, that they're just like, well, we've got this sorted. But it actually, I think it not dragged it down, but it made it difficult, because everybody was too scared, and you'd go into a situation.
Too scared to fail, basically, wasn't it? And
I think as well with, I don't think it's just a murder game. I think it's any show, that when it's a voting off kind of show, you're so scared of pissing somebody off in case it does become a tactical vote, that whatever anybody says is sort of like, oh, all right then, you know, just to have a sort of alliance there, so that you don't, you know, sort of get voted off on that sort of tactic. But with the murder game as well, there were so many situations that on hindsight, I mean, there was one point where me and Rory had to go to Jane Wilmington's boat, and obviously someone had broken in, and I can't remember what me and Rory were doing with the glass, but I mean, the common sense thing at the time would have been bag the glass, and we were there putting the, you know, the fingerprint stuff on the glass right there. And I mean, when we went into the bedroom, we were like that. Me and Rory were like that. Well, what the bloody hell do we do in and out? And I was like, right, pick that glass up. We'll take that. Didn't occur to us afterwards when Chief Bob said, did you think of taking the bed sheets that Catherine had been sleeping in? That would have been full of, you know, you just, honestly, everything that we did in training, it just went straight over, right? We absolutely forgot everything. And let's face it, from the beginning, where I failed is that I fell in love with Jay Wilmington from the beginning. And it is so clearly obvious. I was like, Jay this, Jay that, it's got to be Jay. And whenever they used to put me in front of Jay, oh, that's it. I'd go into stupid flutter where I couldn't speak. I'd get all embarrassed and go all quiet. And the production team were doing it on purpose, putting us together.
That's
and
brilliant.
I was like that. I am so in love with you that I just don't care. And obviously, at the end of the show, my head all along was telling me that it was. What's the other guy? What's the guy that did it?
Trevor.
Trevor. I knew in my head everything pointed to Trevor, but I just wanted to be left alone in a room.
Yeah.
And that is why I chose Jay. I was like that. No, I'm going after Jay, and he's mine. He's mine. It's going to be a love story. You'll see. The detective falls in love with the killer, and it's a big room. I was 21. I was blinded by Jay Wilmington.
It's fantastic.
Stick your 25 grand. I just want a night with Jay.
That was it, and I admitted it all along when at the end when the production, because they were saying we wanted you to win. You were the only one that made it through without having to go through a killer's game. Blah blah blah. Why did you choose Trevor? And I was like, because I love Jay. I was in love with him. I was like, can't you just change the plot and
Yeah.
move it?
Yeah, rewrite.
Yeah. Oh
That's
God.
fantastic.
So, go on. What other questions have you got for me?
So,
Ask anything.
No,
Don't
there's probably more questions now, because you said now you're living in York. Are you living anywhere near it was filmed? Where was it filmed? 'Cause it was fictional town of Blackwater.
It was Southend-on-Sea.
Was it really?
Yeah, Southend. Yeah.
Bloody hell.
It was filmed in Southend. Yeah, we were. Yeah, that's where they drove us to. Yeah, because sometimes he used to take us out for lunch to this really horrible sort of restaurant where we'd be put in the attic of this restaurant.
Get out of the way.
Yes, it was some gorgeous mansion that had been sort of, it was an old barn thing. Don't ask me the exact address because I do get a lot of people that send me messages on Facebook asking me where was the house and things like that. I was like, I couldn't tell you.
No, see, they're bigger fans than us.
Yeah.
We thought we were nerds.
No, yeah, Southend-on-Sea.
Flipping heck.
So.
Well, you mentioned it there. We may as well go into that question now. And we're like, the thing is, we're not like interviewers or anything like that. This is only the second interview that we've ever done. But you mentioned that you get people commenting or Facebooking you. We thought that we went through and we were looking for different people, and we found Rory on LinkedIn. We work on the railway, so it's actually a few familiar connections and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, there's Rory. Nick is on Twitter. Richard Sharrock's on Instagram and stuff like that.
Really?
But throughout, and I even mentioned it in one of the episodes, after the way that they treated you. I think it was in episode 5. The way that they treated you, I was like, right, none of them blokes are welcome on our podcast. If we do a bonus episode,
what did they do? I can't remember.
Well, that was when you were the lead, and that you were doing the
group meeting at the end.
Briefings.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they were just being rude, and I was
They're like talking over you and all sorts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, at least that way I'd have got a bit of the sympathy vote from the viewers, you see. If it had been a live show, I think it would have been amazing.
Yeah, and that's what we're craving now. We want something to come back like it, because actually you could really hammer it home on social media now. And
exactly. What a shame. But yeah, because I do get, every now and then I'll get people sort of on Facebook saying, "Oh my God, we found you through your name, obviously on Facebook."
That's mad, isn't it? Like, it must be mad. It must be. I mean, it must be like quite exciting though. Like, that.
Oh, I love it. Like I say, I wish they would rerun it. I mean, I know that you can see it on YouTube and things like that. But now that there's sort of hardly anything new on telly, and it's been 20 years, so it'd be amazing for them to sort of be able to redo it. And
we've always said as well, like iPlayer, it's on the internet. Just put it on there. You put a decent quality, because we're watching it on YouTube, but the quality, half the clues we're looking at, we're like, can't even see what that is. So it'd be good to watch it on iPlayer. And yeah, I guess it's just one of those. I understand there's licensing issues and all that sort of thing, but the fact that people that were on it still really enjoy it, and there's a good memory there. Do you know what I mean? It's pleasing to see, because the last thing we want to do is get in touch with someone and be like, don't get me wrong, I imagine Richard's like, yeah, everybody hated me afterwards. I don't know why, because he's so oblivious to it. He's watching thinking, well, I was good there. I was really good.
Exactly. Can you imagine if at that point there had been all these pages and things like that? He'd have got a bless him. Do you know what, though? When it first came out, and obviously at that point there was forums, wasn't there? And I remember when it came out, I actually went into the BBC Murder Game forum, and people were talking so horribly about me.
And what? I thought you were about Richard.
No, about me. People were being horrible about me, and obviously I'm there reading it all out. So I thought, okay, let's get this straight. So I actually started answering all the questions. Oh, and at that point, everybody loved me.
Fantastic.
They were like, oh no, we're so sorry. We didn't mean to say that about you, and we think you're amazing. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
And caught out.
No, so honestly, people weren't actually that nice about me either on the forum. So that's all right. I can handle it.
I think that's again, no, that's probably something that you'd have to control nowadays, because yeah, social media is worse than ever, isn't it? So if you were to do a show like that, you'd have to filter out all, because it's that psychological sort of testing that they would do, and seeing if you can handle fame, because fame isn't all about the glitz and the glamour. It's also about the fact that there are people that are going to hate you through pure jealousy. Just you know, they're going to hate on you because they're there and not you.
Yeah, I'm gutted. We didn't get any fame. I got stopped 3 times on the street. I got stopped once on a London tube by 2 young lads. They're like that. Are you that girl off the telly?
Amazing.
I'm like, yeah. And then I remember another time I went to a Justin Timberlake concert. These 2 girls came up to me and they're like, oh my God, you're Melanie from the Murder Game. They're like that. You're going backstage to Justin Timberlake. I'm like, I wish. I'm not that famous.
Should have tried it on with security. Do you know who I am? Just put on BBC. Look.
Can you imagine? I had to throw our own after show party, because you did ask that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did we have an after show party? The answer is no. We did not hear from the BBC at all after that. The only thing I actually did was the Mel and Sue show.
Oh, really?
It was on Channel 4 with Bob.
Oh, that's got to be in the archive somewhere, surely.
Yeah. Oh, I've not been able to find it, but I did do an interview on the Mel and Sue show, and I'll tell you into a little secret. Rory was actually supposed to be on it with me, but I was living in a pub at the time, and the night before, to go through what we were going to say and things like that, he came round to my pub and started drinking. We both started drinking a lot. And anyway, so I put Rory in a taxi home. So anyway, we were to meet the next day, 6 o'clock at Channel 4 Studios. Anyway, Rory is nowhere to be found. He's not answering his telephone. The BBC are ringing me up. Where the hell's Rory? I don't know. Everybody's asking me. Bearing in mind, I've got a whopping hangover. While I'm having my makeup done, I'm throwing up into a bucket because we drank that much the night before. Anyway, so after I've done the filming, get back home, and Toby, who I was with at the time, he went, "You'll never guess what." I went, "What?" It went, the taxi driver that took Rory home last night has come here demanding for money because Rory did a runner from the taxi without paying. I was like, you are kidding me. Anyway, still couldn't find him for ages. About a week later, turned out he'd got so drunk, ran out the taxi, grabbed his passport, went to Heathrow Airport and caught a flight to Ireland. All in 24 hours. I was like, you arsehole. Left me to do that all by myself. Yeah, that's how drunk. And they say the Irish can drink. I was hardcore. If you ever watch it and you see my face, I think as a whole joke thing, one of them, Mel or Sue, I don't know which one, handed us some donuts as a joke because we were police detectives, and detectives like, oh, my face just turns green. I was like,
our new mission is to find that out. So you went on that with Chief Bob then?
I did, yeah.
I mean,
so what's your thing with Chief Bob then? What was it that you didn't like about it?
I've got to be careful because you're a fellow Yorkshireman now, so it's like
is he from Yorkshire?
Got to be careful. It just the way he comes in, and I think again we are comparing it to Murder in Small Town X, where the sort of the chief there is so much more cooperative and so much more
like collaborative.
Yeah. Whereas Chief Bob, well, what are you going to do then? What have you got to say for yourselves?
Yeah.
Are you stupid? And at one point he goes, do you know what a Muppet is? And you're like, what? And he goes, most useless police person ever trained. No, but that's bollocks. That's you made that up. That's not real, surely. So there was a lot of comments from Chief Bob, and we thought it was almost like he was trying to make it the Chief Bob show. And it took away, like, it wasn't ever, oh, I'm going to support you guys, I'm going to show you what we've worked through or anything like that. It's like, you're all useless, I had to send the boys in to get the evidence. And it's like, oh, come on, mate.
Okay, so a bit of a background thing with that. We had no relationship whatsoever with Chief Bob. We could tell from week 2 that he was scripted.
Yeah, okay.
And he had to stick, because even if we'd done something right, I think he had a script that he had to stick to then make the voting and the
that's what we thought.
And the games work, and because the only times we would ever see him is when he'd come storming in, do the briefing, and we could have argued the toss with him, but you can tell that we're all just there quiet, because if we'd have asked him a certain question, we knew that, like a robot, he would have said the line that he had to say. But for TV, it's like...
We noticed that a few times, and I hadn't even considered that, because a few times Meryl suggested something and said, oh, well, I think that's because of Jennifer Wilmington. And then he'll go, so who do you think that's linked to then?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, Meryl just said Jennifer Wilmington. Like,
I think we even say that...
Honestly, again, it was a production thing, I think. He was so scripted. We had no relationship whatsoever with him. He would come in, say his lines, and
then just leave.
Yeah, which was exactly the same as obviously with the actors, obviously the suspects. We knew from sort of the second episode that we weren't allowed to just ask them anything.
Yeah, they've only got so much.
That's not in the plot. I have absolutely no answer for that whatsoever. And you could also tell in their faces that when we were asking the wrong questions, they were sort of trying to, they thought, right, I've got an answer for another question. Redirect what you just said in a different way, because I do have an answer for that one. So,
that's amazing.
I think everyone was so scripted, but we didn't have a clue. We didn't know what they were supposed to be saying, and so, but you could tell that they were trying to sort of veer our questions to make it fit in with their answers to carry on with the stories. So.
It's funny when Andrew talks, because most people are like, what are you talking about? And a few actors will often say, well, what do you mean? Because the way he comes out of it, they're so confused and they don't have an answer for it.
I've got to say, looking back now, comical value, Andrew was a diamond.
He was so funny, yeah.
Comical, it was brilliant. And looking back now, where I'm a little bit more humble, because all the way through it, I was like, oh, I'm so proud of myself for getting this far, and I think I should win, blah, blah, blah. But hats off to Andrew for having done so many Killers games.
I don't understand how he won. I still don't understand how he won.
It was just the luck of the draw at the end with those Killers games. But
how many did he do? 6, was it? Or 5?
Yeah.
It's mad. Absolute madness.
Which again, it made us think, was it, we don't know what goes on.
No.
Production. We don't know. And we think, are they doing that just to sort of keep it going because it will be hilarious doing, you know, because how lucky can someone be to always pick the right card?
Yeah.
Is anybody ever that lucky? It's, you know, and to say that so many times in a row, he picked the one that didn't have the killer. We were like, okay, hold on a there's something dodgy going on here. And then for the end, at the end of the day, production could have turned it each way. But
yeah, of course they could. Of course they could.
At the end of the day, it could have been Jay for some reason. I mean,
You're still hoping, still. After all these years.
We've actually got him dialing in now, Jay Wilton.
I mean, I'm sorry, who kills somebody over paternity? You don't. You kill somebody over a £50 million diamond.
Too right. Wholeheartedly agree.
Still bitter after all these years.
Production could have turned that story either way. It's like with anything. I mean, even, you know, the end of Friends had about 5 different million endings, didn't it? And they, you know, at the end of the day, they pointed it to the way that the audience would have wanted it to go. So part of me thinks, did they have another ending? Could it have
potentially,
could they have had, you know, an ending for all the different characters? Because I bet when they were writing out the story, obviously they don't just have one final thing.
No, on that final episode, obviously you and Andrew go through your reasoning, and your reasoning is just as good as his.
Was it? Can I just keep going?
Because I think me and Mike through the episode say who we think the killer is. And I think I say quite early on, I think it's Jay. And Mike goes with Trevor, but so I would have lost as well. So.
Well, is that throughout the whole thing, it always sort of veers towards Jay because of Goldie, and then because of, you know, the mother, and then the secret baby, and then the father, you know, everything. He just had so many motives for me. And then in the end, when we find out about, you know, the diamond and, you know, that it's going to go to Catherine, you know, the necklace and things like that. For me, it just, so many things pointed towards him. The fact that I loved him as well.
In fairness, I only went with Trevor because I just thought he was a bit weird. That's probably just the actor playing him. But how was the evidence presented? Because you only see your track. Obviously, you go out, but then there are other 2 teams out in the field at the same time as you. So you could be on Jay's boat, but someone else could be in a field looking at a car burn or whatever else. Do you see video footage of that, or do you just get a notebook, or how's it? How did you catch up, or was it just through conversation? You just had to get that information
through conversation. If I remember rightly, it was just through conversation. So we had an evidence room at the back where we all had to give in all the evidence that we collected, or in my case, lack off, because I never used. I was so bad.
Where are the bed sheets? Didn't bring them.
You know, or the glass that she smashed through that would have had all the fingerprints on them. Forgot. It's literally, I honestly, in all the way through, I was possibly the worst investigator. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was just smiling all the way through it. But yeah, to answer your question, if I remember rightly, we'd have to bag all the evidence, and then we'd take it to the evidence room, and then obviously write it all down, discuss it. And on the wall, we used to have that freaking annoying timeline that I just never knew how to. I didn't know how to read it. I didn't know how to fill it out. If you ever watch back, I'm just there staring at it, going, huh? Where people are writing, right? Especially people like Richard that have got this army mindset of like facts and hours. And
you probably made it.
Yeah, that wasn't part of it.
Right, so this happened here, and then when we get the evidence, it's like that. Right, so this bit of evidence, we need to put it back to what's that? What are we having for dinner tonight?
I think though that's what made it more personable and more entertaining, because we do say that it's so hard driven on pure evidence. We actually wanted to see more interactions with you and the actors, or between you guys, rather than it being pure. Because I mean, in the training episode, we watched you do a bleep test and do fingerprints for 5 minutes, and we're like, oh, we're watching. Why do we need this? We would rather see you out in the field chasing people, or, you know.
Yeah, that's it. Especially because we did do so much of things like that. And I mean, the funny thing is, sometimes we got sent out on location because we didn't know who was in on the murder game. Excuse me. We were actually going up to complete strangers, members of the public, and interrogating them, and they were looking at us, and we could kind of see, you know, one of the actors or the camera crew sort of going, no. It's like, go that way. We just, honestly, we had no clue whatsoever what was going
That's
on.
brilliant.
Who we were supposed to interview, what we were supposed to be asking, but yeah, we could only go when the other investigators used to come back. We could only go by their word of mouth of what, you know, what they were saying and things like that. And obviously, when you put into a situation like me on the bag where you just forget everything, when you hear somebody else, like when Merrill and whoever else followed that car, which then something got flung out the window, which was the camera, and they went up to the abandoned car, and we were like, us lot in the off, you know, in the sort of, you know, back at headquarters, we were like, that car tracker, did you get the tracker? And they were like that, oh, well, we didn't think of that. And we were like that, oh God, you're so stupid, cars have trackers. But when you put into that situation, you just completely forget what to do as well. It's, yeah. Sorry, I'm probably going way off course.
Brilliant.
No, we'd love to hear it.
This is exactly what we want to do.
Traveling on something it was 20 years ago.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to know was, obviously, you only went on one Killers game.
Yes.
What was that like? Was it as frightening as it looked?
No, she was chasing Jay. She was.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's like heaven. It was the stairway to heaven.
I was looking for my lover. I didn't care. Do you know what? I can't remember how I felt at the time, but obviously, do you know, I was more bothered at the fact that I had this camera looking up at my nostrils, and I was quite conscious that I had this camera. So I was trying to. I know it sounds awful, but you know, when you're trying to sort of play up a little bit, sort of, oh my God, this is just scary. Oh, my little heart can't take this. But basically, so you get driven to whichever location. Obviously, with me, it was a field with this guy that I just completely didn't know, and he just opened the back of the van and he said, right, you need to get out here. I didn't know where I was going, but I started hearing some screams, and so I thought, right, that's it, follow the screams. So it is quite nerve-wracking. So I was in the middle of a field, right? And obviously, because you know that it's sort of a controlled environment, you know that at the end of this, all this is fake. But in my head, I'm thinking, hold on, they're sort of a quarter of a mile away where they've got everything set up. But right now, I'm in the middle of a field with just a camera on my own. How do they not know that there's some psychopath roaming the fields? That was the bit that was making me more nervous, because I thought, they're not going to get to me in time. Can you imagine that being caught on camera? No,
I mean, that would be the best murder mystery TV show ever made if that was to
I was
happen.
like, that was literally all that was going through my head. Just make it to where the screens are coming through, because that's where everybody is. But obviously, walking through the field, it was pretty dark, and they'd put like dead animals, you know, fake dead animals along the way to sort of get you going. And anyway, so then I arrived, obviously, at the big warehouse thing, and obviously, and a black door. And that was the nerve-wracking bit, having to walk in through that door, because from the stories that we only had what Andrew used to tell us about the stories, and he made them really scary. And that's what I would have actually have loved to have lived some of the murder games that Andrew had to do, because it sounded amazing.
They even looked brilliant, like some of the things that he went through with, bodies hanging from the ceiling and stuff.
Exactly.
It's just amazing, isn't it?
I honestly think my murder game was quite tame compared to the other people's. I think mine was sort of a bit, dare I say it, I was quite disappointed. I really was, because obviously when I walked in and I'm there with the torch, and you're kind of playing it up for the cameras, because obviously I could see like the little coffins, and then there's one bit where I said, oh my God, I bet my name's at the end, you know, the last one where there's like the dead bodies. And obviously you've got things going off, but at the same time you're sort of conscious that you obviously know that there's people around there and filming it, so you're not alone. And at the end of it, when you actually get murdered, you know, at the end of the screen, that was filmed afterwards. So all of a sudden, I'm walking walking along going, oh my God, what's going to happen? And all of a sudden, all these bright lights go up and they're like that. Oh, Mel, we're really sorry that you lost. I was like, oh, well, that was a fucking disappointment. I was expecting Jay Wilmington to jump out at me. No, but literally, you're walking along. Sorry to disappoint, but at the end, literally, all the lights went up in this warehouse. There was about a 30-strong crowd, and everyone going, oh, we're so sorry, but you didn't get it. I was like, oh, for God's sake. And then they sort of all congratulate you for, you know, losing, obviously. And they were like that, right, just to make it more real, can we just take you from the beginning and actually get you to scream a few times? And sort of, and when we film this last bit, can you do a really big scream, which is the bit where you're going to actually get killed? I'm like that. So that bit was fake, I'm afraid. Sorry to disappoint, but nobody jumps out to kill you. Not on my one anyway. I don't know about the other people, but mine was very disappointing.
So I've always imagined it, like, yeah, you get to the end of the killer's game and then the lights come up and suddenly just was, yeah, you're out.
Honestly, that's what it was like. I was like, oh wow. That was, yeah, that's exactly what it was like. I was absolutely gutted. I honestly know anything. Oh, I've lost. I was gutted. Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's a moment that
yeah.
that it might have been the most it's one of the highlights. Not really a highlight is a wrong word, but it was one that stood out the most for us, I think. So you met that espionage guy who was a little bit odd, that taught you how to bug people and put cameras and bugs around the houses and stuff, right?
Oh, God. Yes, go on.
And like, that's one thing. He's really rude. He's like, pathetic, absolutely pathetic. He's not
this one where we were staking out the house.
Yeah.
But then the narrator, like, what got me was that the narrator said, despite being a former lap dancer, Mel is getting stage fright because they're expecting you to piss in front of Andrew and bloody Rory. I couldn't believe
episode
it.
2, isn't it, as well? It's really early on.
No, right. I can't believe I'm going to tell you this. Are you ready? How strong are your stomachs right now?
I can't wait.
Right, and this is because I didn't need to pee. Right. So this goes back to where I say that the camera crew, nobody were allowed to talk to us under any circumstance. I mean, you could have been having a stroke and they'd be like, catch us. Right. So obviously it was that weird. Was it Andrew and Rory, wasn't it? So I was with Andrew and Rory. It was a very, very long day, right? I am so not shy. I will take a piss in front of you right now, need be, right?
That's the next question.
Right. Let me explain a thing about a woman, right? Every 4 weeks she goes through a certain cycle. Yeah, are you following me?
Familiar.
Yes. So it just so happens that day I started that certain cycle.
Oh no.
I was wearing cream trousers. Right, I had my brown. Right, so bearing in mind we've been there for what, 5-6 hours, right? So imagine the pig scene in a Carrie movie, right? So I was literally, so this is where this is going. I was so mortified. So I'm there with Rory and Andrew that are trying to look the other way, whilst I'm from the waist down covered in blood. I mean, it looked like, I'm so sorry. This is so, it looked like a massacre, and all I wanted was a tampon. And I'm to this guy, I'm like that, boy, help me. I'm dying. And he's like looking at me. And he's like, no. And it's like, like trying to step away from me while I'm literally bleeding to death. So I honestly thought that the crew would have sort of been, a bit humane and said, right, this girl really needs our help. I mean, I could have been having a hemorrhage for all they know. So, like I say, it's so bad because on camera it looks like that I'm not strong, and I was like, I needed to pee. It was a female dilemma I was having at the time, but I was like, I can't cope with this. So there you go. That is the truth, and I'm so sorry. And thankfully, they did not show that on camera.
Oh my gosh!
You have seen me. I had my coat in the car. I've got my coat, and I'm like, oh my god! And I just wanted to cry. So that is the story behind that. Like I said, I would have quite happily taken a piss in front of them, but it was a slightly different situation. So.
Thing is, didn't even cross our minds that you. It was one of those. It was
It was literally that. So I was mortified when then it came out that I was like, when the guy was like, she couldn't even take a piss in front of two guys. I was like, quite happily, I'd have done that, but a little bit more than that.
Is that why you're on those forums later on? It's like, I would piss in front of people.
I was like, I needed a goddamn tampon. You have not been in this situation before. I was mortified. I wanted to die at that point. So. And can I just say though, when they said afterwards that we'd left a whole load of mess, that is absolute cod wallop bullshit. We literally went round that place and checked and double checked, and there was nothing there.
I think we even mentioned that because some of the stuff left is bullshit.
Honestly, they were like, oh, and you left this behind, and you left that, and you left a drinks bottle behind. Absolute cod's wallet. We checked.
And yeah, I don't know if it's made the edit of the podcast, but Jace mentioned he's like, the earpiece you can kind of forgive because it's small and black and probably in some mud or something. But when there's like a whole bottle and a bag of batteries and stuff like that, it's like, come on, you didn't leave that.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was me, Andrew, and Rory. We might have. I'm surprised that the guy didn't go and someone left the tampon.
Why have we got these red and beige trousers?
Oh, good Lord. I don't know if it showed as well, but we were proper arguing to who was going to take the pictures. We all wanted to go on the camera, and everyone was arguing, but I want to take the picture, but I want to take the picture. The pictures were shit anyway. Let's face it. And it was so terrible because at the beginning, when we were sort of setting it up, we could not hear a thing. We were just pretending, oh God, yeah, can you hear that conversation? We couldn't hear anything. I'm sure that obviously afterwards, for your guys' benefit, you can hear the audio really well.
Yeah.
We couldn't hear anything. We didn't know what was going on. We could barely see Trevor and what was her name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, yeah, which she was lovely. She was so funny. Yeah, when they were having, we could just about make out that they were in there, and but we couldn't hear a thing.
It didn't even make a difference anyway, because in the end you get a phone call and someone I think it's Nick rings you to say, oh, they've just rang the police themselves and want you to go and pick up some evidence, and that's actually the moment you're going, I can't talk loudly, I'm spying.
Yeah.
We're undercover.
And do you have a tampon?
Oh my God.
Who went into the house then? Did we have to go in?
Yeah, I think
so then you go around and you're like, oh, we were in the area. In your fucking shed.
Just walking across the garden.
Oh God. Did I have loads of blood on me? I can't remember back, but my God, that is so mortifying. Oh, how hilarious. Jesus, that was by far my worst experience ever, purely because of what had happened to me. I was
That's
suffering.
fantastic.
When I was sat in the back of that van, in the back of the truck going back, I mean, I think I was praising all three of us for such an amazing job we've done. And I'm just sat there thinking, oh my God, I just need to go to the toilet. I am dead proud of us all. We did so well. Yeah. But yeah, that is the story behind that one. Yeah, possibly the worst 5 hours of my life. That. Yeah.
That's yeah. It was
Do
our.
it all again.
It's incredible that you've got a story about it when it's one of the things in the show that stood out the most for us. Like, you know, but
Really?
then
God, well, yeah, honestly.
that's remarkable.
Behind that story, that was the whole incident where I just want to cry. I wasn't upset at being in front of two guys. It was a different reason completely. But yeah. But good fun. I'd do it all again. Oh.
Yeah, and look, so in terms of this, the murder game questions, I keep looking that way because they're on my screen. But we've I mean, for us, we've sort of maxed out our questions in what we wanted to find out, and you've told us way more than we could have ever imagined anyway. With the murder, is there anything that and you've, as I say, you've told us loads anyway, but is there anything in the murder game that you think, oh, I ought to mention that, or anything like that before we talk about press gang?
Oh,
that's a bit on the spot. I appreciate it. And look, if you think of anything in the next few weeks, just give us a text or whatever, and we can sort of talk about it.
But... I will do this as many times as I like, but I've got nothing else to do anyway. I don't know, because you guys lived it so differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sort of that we did, and obviously we lived so much, because I don't know if you did you guys ever watch, obviously, because they did the murder game, obviously the show, but then they had the extra, didn't they, as well?
They had the interactive, and we didn't get to see any of that, and it had like additional interviews with like Jennifer Wilmington, or seeing what the contestants did on certain days. We didn't get to see any of that.
Oh, didn't you? Oh no, because obviously that gave a lot more background of what we were like, sort of inside the house. And
okay.
My mother was.
I'm gonna make a note. I'll try and find it.
When Rory went off for his murder game, and it comes out, and I was like that, Rory, because by this point I'd made such a good bond with Rory, because so many of all the girls had gone, so I thought, right, I've got to find sort of somebody else to sort of team up with, sort of, you know, it became sort of me and Rory.
And then you get Sharrock's going, yeah, I think there's a little bit of sexual tension between the two. And Jace is like, yeah, Sharrock's is a virgin.
Oh my God. I tell you what, obviously you saw the part where I was in the diary room actually in tears, wasn't I? Because I really thought that they were all going to vote me off. And the bit that I feel really bad is obviously I start crying because I'm adamant that Richard is going to vote for me. And my God, I felt like such a twat when he didn't, when he actually voted for, did he vote for Nick? Was it, or
I can't remember. I think we call that out actually, because we say that at this point we thought that you were a goner. Yeah, we thought that was.
Well, I did. That's why I was crying. And obviously, when you're up in that diary room and you're actually there for quite a while, because you just let everything out.
We only see a few seconds, don't we?
No, yeah, you guys only see a bit, but you were actually in there for quite a while, and obviously we asked you so many questions.
Is it just you with Chief Bob?
What, in the diary room?
Yeah.
Oh no, that was just the.
Oh, that was just the voting bit, wasn't it? Where you.
Yeah, that's just within when you actually do your vote, isn't it? If I remember rightly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you were in when you just got is it just a camera or?
Yeah, just a camera, and so it's.
Does anyone prompt you, or is it just?
No, yeah, we get called up. So the phone rings, and one person gets called up to the diary room, where they get asked a whole bunch of questions, not questions about the investigation, questions about the other
relationships and that,
contestants and things like that. So the first person goes up, and then obviously someone comes down and they say, right, your turn. And I think that's a way for the production team to get an inkling of how the game should almost go, or how it's
and how they can edit it as well, I suppose, can they?
Yeah, and how it's going to go. Yeah.
Undoubtedly, they have to write it, and we could see that quite a lot in that they did tailor quite a few, or it felt like they tailored quite a few bits just to keep that tension there, because it makes for better TV. Or they think if it just pans out as it should and it's all nice to do, then people aren't going to have those conversations, and it's not going to be as dramatic, or removing that tension, because it was the main focus for us in the end, was how much there was a break in between. It wasn't about the murder stuff in the end. It was more about how relationships had been formed and stuff like that. So I think a lot of it was tailored to that, and evidently they use that. If you're going in saying hate Sharrox, then the next thing they're doing, they're like, right, we'll get Mel and Sharrox together in this next scene. That'd be really funny.
Oh, done.
You had your 22nd birthday in there as well.
Yeah, you had your birthday
was it obvious?
That was brilliant. Yeah.
Oh God! Do you know what? Living it there at the time, I didn't realise that I'd mentioned about 50,000 times in one day to everybody. But it just goes to show my age in the show and how self-absorbed I was in myself, because it does show a lot on there. When I look back at it, I'm like, oh, God, Mel, you should be a little bit more humble.
But but you were young, and that was part of your charm as well.
Yeah, so. It was all like, me, I'm so amazing, and I did so well, and and look at me, and things like that. But yeah, Nick pointed out, do you reckon it's Mel's birthday? I didn't realise I'd pointed it out that many times, but I tell you what, and this is how good I was completely oblivious that they were making me a cake and things like that. That's how sneaky everybody
I thought that was nice, though. We did mention that about being a nice touch that they...
Yeah, I was fluttering about the house, and obviously they'd say, Mel, can you come to the diary room? Yeah, fine, I'd go up to the diary room, and then about an hour later, they were like, Mel, you need to go back up to the diary room because the last one didn't tape properly, and so to redo it. I was completely oblivious.
That's magic. That's really good.
Point. And they had a sign outside the door saying, recording, do not enter. So I'm there going to go and get my munchies from the kitchen. I'm like, great. I was completely oblivious to what was going on.
That's nice.
Yes, I did have my birthday there. Yeah.
Nice surprise.
Was it my 22nd?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
God, 18 years ago. That's so depressing.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah. Oh, but good times though. I really did enjoy it. No, and I tell you, everyone was so good and fair. Because I think you asked, did we have when you said, did we have a party afterwards? A few of them actually came to watch it at the pub where I was at. We put it on the big screen.
Nice.
And yeah, who was it that came? I think there was Sam, Rory, obviously myself, Nick came down. Who else was in the show? Obviously,
there was Christine, wasn't there?
Yeah, Christine, I don't think, because she was so quick to go.
She went first day, second day, yeah.
Yeah, no, Sarita. Apparently,
Sarita,
but everybody dislikes Sarita. I actually really liked her, but she went on the second one, didn't she?
Yeah.
But apparently Sam really didn't like her. I didn't like her sort of a bit further on, and afterwards Nick didn't like her.
She was often referred to as lazy, and she'd fall asleep all the time, Sarita. That was hilarious.
Yeah, but she was second out, wasn't she? I didn't realise that people didn't like her. I thought she was all right. But yeah, with them, we didn't really keep in touch with them. So yeah, there was about 4 or 5 of us that were watching it on the big screen in the pub. And all of it, for me, it was mortifying because I kind of not slagged people off, but I said things about people, and obviously I'm there next to him on the big screen, and I'm like, oh well, yeah, I think so and so didn't do so well. And he's like there next to me, I'm like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it. Yeah, please get me famous again.
We'll you're now the star of our show. It's just a pity we've not got thousands of listeners. We will.
How do you do this whole podcast thing then? You just sort of advertise it and people are like, oh, we're listening to it.
Yeah, it's all through Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
Oh, brilliant.
And that
please send me well, because I'm such an idiot on this.
No, of course, and that's the big thing, is getting your permission that that we can use this sort of footage and that, because we would never, as I say, like in the first episode, we're like, oh my god, she's just turned up in a Porsche speaking Spanish and she said she's a retired dancer, what is going on? But by the end of it, we're like, Mel to win 100%, we only want Mel to win.
Really? Come on, there must have been days that you thought, oh my god, Mel's an absolute dick.
No, I don't think so, not one. No, was it just that first
and at least
20 seconds?
Yeah, and at least at least once in every episode, you're going, oh my god, I've got to say it. So you go to interview George Howick on the boat, and you come off the boat, and or you not on his boat, but you go and interview him at his house on the island, and you come off, and the words out of your mouth is, I'm sorry, but he is fucking Catherine. He is having sex with Catherine.
Or if you were there, if you'd have been there with him, he looked like a dirty old man. Honestly, he had like this, which obviously it's his character.
He was brilliant. He was a brilliant.
Obviously, because we're living it and it's so real to us there, and he was giving all these, where the dirty look, and lips, and like wetting his lips, and I was like, oh, fucking pervert. Because was I with Sam on that one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, me and Sam, and he was a creep. I'm sorry. And then it turned out that he was just a lovely man, wasn't he? Asking Catherine to play the bloody piano. I'm like, dirty pervert, he's fucking her.
So good. So there were moments like that throughout that we were just like, oh, stunning, absolutely fantastic.
But it's good. It's also because your intention was so pure, because you said you're obviously young, blonde, and you wanted to prove that you could do it. So. Oh
god, yeah. But I mean, and after we'd done the filming, when it was me and Andrew in the hotel, and obviously it was just us and some of the crew there. I mean, I was only there with them for about half an hour, but apparently I was let to know that the actors used to actually go and watch us, sort of, where the production team were. Because there was a shed at the back of the garden, where the production team were, which we weren't allowed to go into. It was a big shed. And apparently some of the actors sometimes used to sneak in there to see how we were acting inside the house and what they can sort of, I'm going to play this stuff. And I think that's why whenever I was sent to go and interview Jay Wilmington, he would always be sort of a bit, looking at
put the charm on.
Which was making me even worse. I was like, oh, please don't look at me. And so that's what they were doing. So I'm just looking back at that. I was like, oh my god, I bet he heard me say there was a dirty old pervert and it was fucking Catherine. I was like, oh, for God's sake.
So good.
Yeah, very funny. But you just don't think at the time, when you live in that moment, you just, honestly, there's one point which my mum was mortified when Rory was going to do the Killers game. And because I'd got that little alliance with Rory, I was like, Rory, if you come back, I'll let you have a play with my clit piercing. My mum was mortified because they actually showed it on TV. But at the time, I was so young, and I was like I say, like I've always said it, I was like, look at me. I've not changed. I'm still look at me. But my thing was to shock when I was on there. And
so
I think that was my dancer background, though. That even though I was really shy, I thought, if I do the shock tactic, that's what people will love about me, because I wanted to be loved, because otherwise I thought I'd just be voted out. So.
It wouldn't have been the same show without you, though, because there were so many bits, as I say, there were so many bits that we would talk so negatively about, like things that ruined it and the way Bob was and how scripted it was and things like that. Yeah. But there are actually some shining moments that we were just laughing our asses off for ages. And most of them had you. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Oh no, I do have such a potty mouth, that's for sure. Yeah, I was like, I'll let you play with my clit ring. My mum saw it. She was like that. You are no daughter of mine.
See, do you know what? We didn't pick that up, so I've got to go back now and listen back on it.
Honestly, it's on there when before he goes to do his Killers game. Yeah, I was gutted when he didn't come back. I was devastated.
Yeah, because he didn't then get to play.
Yeah.
And some edit.
No, and if you watch the extra bits, watch one of the scenes. I don't know if the show. I think they might have shown it where because I was so young, I didn't really drink when they were buying wine and stuff. I didn't have the taste for it. And even though I was the only one that was stone cold sober, there's a conversation about, I'm only going to tell you, there's a conversation about tasting earwax. And then obviously from my point, I took it one step further. And if you find it,
I've now got my new mission.
Yeah, it's there's a bunch of us sat there. I think Meryl's there because Meryl's face is a classic, how her jaw just drops. And I'm actually kind of having the conversation with Rory about the taste of earwax, and it just goes a little bit further than that. So
brilliant.
look out.
I have to find it.
Yeah. You'll find it. Now we're talking about the taste of earwax. Very funny. Let's just say my mum wasn't impressed. But there you go.
No, really appreciate that. It's
my pleasure. Sorry if you didn't get all the answers.
No,
we've got honestly everything we need and more, but we will keep in touch for sure, and we'll tell you how things are going and stuff. And
it's been a pleasure, Mel, definitely.
Like I said, to put it in short form, yes, I did hear Richard. Yes, he is a twat, like it comes across on the show. Mervyn was I did vote Mervyn out tactically.
We won that one, which is brilliant.
He voted Sam off, gonna get you out.
Sweet justice.
Yeah, it was good. Was I gutted that Andrew won? Yes, I was. But it was really good fun, and thank you guys for being fans of the show. It really does mean a lot.
Thank you. You've made it a damn sight easier to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah.
If you're still with us, thanks for watching. Come and let us know what you think over on Twitter and Instagram. We're @PresentsJam. We'll be back with Series 3 of Jam Presents in a few weeks' time, where we try to figure out who done it.